What's the most creative way you've ever gotten around a teacher's stupid rule? Mr. Henderson had this absolutely ridiculous rule about active participation in his chemistry class. Every student must ask at least one question per class period, he'd announce while scanning the room like a participation-hunting hawk. Miss a day without asking something, anything, and you'd get marked down for classroom disengagement. 3 strikes meant a parent conference, which for a straight-A student like me was basically academic suicide. By October, I'd exhausted every genuine question about molecular structures. If Mr. Henderson wanted questions, I'd give him questions, just not the kind he was expecting. The malicious compliance started innocently enough. I began asking increasingly specific questions about his teaching methods. Mr. Henderson, why do you hold the marker with exactly 3 fingers instead of 4? I'd inquire with genuine curiosity, while frantically scribbling notes. That's not really chemistry related, he'd stammer, clearly confused. But it affects how you write chemical formulas, I'd explain earnestly. I'm studying your technique for optimal equation transcription. My lab partner Sarah would bite her lip trying not to crack up. Mr. Henderson would just blink twice before continuing his lesson about ionic bonds. Encouraged by this non-reprimand, I escalated. The next week I started asking questions about the classroom environment itself. Is the fluorescent lighting affecting the molecular behavior of our samples? I'd wonder aloud while squinting dramatically at my beaker. Should we account for seasonal barometric pressure changes in our calculations? I demonstrated by pulling out a homemade barometer I'd constructed from a mason jar and balloon. The situation intensified when I began incorporating increasingly absurd scientific inquiries into every lesson. Monday featured detailed questions about the psychological impact of periodic table colors. Does the green highlighting on group 17 elements subconsciously influence our perception of halogen reactivity? I'd ask while holding up color swatches for comparison. Wednesday showcased my educational curiosity about his personal teaching philosophy. Mr. Henderson, when you say chemistry is everywhere, do you include the chemical composition of your coffee mug? Because I've been wondering about the ceramic bonding structure all semester. I gestured toward his perpetually present NASA-themed mug with scientific fascination. By Friday, I developed what I called my comprehensive understanding initiative, asking follow-up questions to literally everything he said. When you mentioned hydrogen has 1 proton, are we talking about standard atmospheric conditions? What about in space? Should I be taking notes about cosmic hydrogen behavior? The class would watch this ping-pong match of increasingly desperate questions and increasingly strained teacher responses. The breaking point came during parent-teacher conferences. As my parents sat across from Mr. Henderson, he pulled out a folder labeled Jessica's Questions. Before he could explain, I knocked on the door. Sorry to interrupt, I said cheerfully to everyone. Mr. Henderson, I've been researching your teaching methodology for my independent study project. I then presented him with a 20-page analysis I'd written titled The Psychological Impact of Mandatory Participation Requirements on Student-Teacher Chemical Bonding. The cover featured a diagram comparing classroom dynamics to molecular interactions. My parents read the title and started laughing so hard, my dad had to remove his glasses to wipe his eyes. Mr. Henderson flipped through pages of charts analyzing his question-response patterns, statistical breakdowns of class participation rates, and a detailed bibliography citing educational psychology journals. That evening, he called our house personally. New rule, he said with what sounded like exhausted amusement. Quality questions only. 1 thoughtful inquiry per week instead of daily random wonderings. Now, whenever I see Mr. Henderson in the hallway, I just tap my notebook and whisper, "I'm still analyzing your pedagogical approach, sir."